Oh, I was called an asshole. It was like, I hope you can't have kids. Yeah, I was called barren. A soulless killjoy. I really liked that one.
Oh, that's nice.
I know. I was like, stunning work.
Welcome to The Scaries, presented by Racer Co. I'm Sky.
And I'm Talitha. In each episode, we tackle the alarming, inconceivable, shocking, questionable, and scary statistics relating to, impacting, and intervening with the lives of women and girls worldwide.
You'll hear the scary truths, take away tools, tips, and learn about what you can do about it. The Scaries is an opportunity to raise awareness, share resources, and collectively use our power as women and supporters of women to make real change. We'd also like to note that our opinions are literally just opinions. They're ours. They're nothing else other than opinions in this, aside from the facts that we will be sharing. And this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Also, we will be sharing some potentially triggering content and statistics, so please watch with caution and listen with caution.
As straight, cisgendered, white, able-bodied settler women, we are aware of the privilege we have, and we want to use this platform to spread awareness about the reality women from around the world face in different life situations.
And why?
Because sometimes nothing is scarier than being a woman. Hello, and thank you for tuning into episode 2. We are excited. We have appreciated all the feedback and the listens so far.
Yes.
We've learned a lot, like things like you have to have the microphones set at the same level, which, didn't consider. We just thought that you could just turn them on and they would be good to go. So hopefully you can hear me appropriately. Also realized that we don't need to be looking like we are on the sun with how bright it is. So we've toned down the lights a little bit. I'm a little bit more tan than Skylar is naturally, and so it seemed like she just stole all of the light. Yeah. And we didn't want to white her out this episode. So thank you for that, and thank you for tuning in again. We appreciate it. Last week we talked about gender-based violence, and specifically the intimate partner violence that perpetrates so many women in the world, and kind of the different intersectionalities of it and how we look at different groups. And so this week and today we are going to be talking about another heavily prevalent, ever-growing type of gender-based violence, which is cyber violence, and this is the technical term, tech-facilitated gender-based violence. But for the purposes of this episode, we will just call it cyber violence or cyberbullying.
So definition we'll share for you. In digital environments like social media, so this is where cyber violence takes place. In digital environments like social media, gaming sites, technology tools used for the purpose of perpetrating gender-based violence.
Yes. So this type of violence affects a large majority of women, especially young women who are using digital platforms from a younger and younger age. It's becoming a lot more accessible. In fact, we've had our own share of digital hate. It seems like whenever someone shares an opinion, which is just your own, it's just your opinion, it's what your thoughts are. And so in our case, we tend to have the same opinion, or we come together and make sure we are on the same page with our opinions. But we shared an opinion about a tourism campaign that came out for our city called Experience Regina. It was very heavily thought about in the way that we're supposed to be making our city sexy again, with taglines like "Show me your Regina," and "The city that rhymes with fun," and all these things. Anyway, so we shared our thoughts on it, and I mean, overall, we actually had a lot of support and people thanking us for sharing and calling in versus calling out. So really calling in the behavior, calling in the fact that we should have taken a different approach to this, that sort of thing. But we had also some people email us and call us all sorts of names. And based on the names, I would assume that they were men or identify as men. And it was just an interesting experience. The Experience Regina. Because we were coming at it from a place of love and respect, which I think was not what other people probably would have taken or had taken. We weren't calling out like for like calling on heads to be
No.
rolling or anything.
Just like this is not cool. This is pretty offensive to women. So it should probably change.
Yeah.
Let's consider working together to find a better slogan.
Yeah.
Simply.
Yeah.
But yeah. And like even with this podcast, we like had one episode and we already received some interesting, spicy comments. And we're literally just talking the straight facts, statistics about gender-based violence. And we get comments like, oh, ironic, women talking about violence, like victim again.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we actually are. Let me show you the pages and pages and pages of research that prove that women are specifically violated with more violence than men. So anywho, you can't escape it. It's just there. So what are we going to do about it? How do we move forward? How do we minimize it? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, exactly.
So like Talitha said, intimate partner violence, really one of the key people or key targeted groups of women that are subjected to it most are young women. And that's the same for cyber violence. So cyber violence hits specifically young women, 15 to 25. And so what is cyber violence? We gave the definition, but like how does it take shape? It's online or technology facilitated violence where technology is used to use harm, and it can take shape as online threats, insults, online harassment, stalking, someone using GPS with all the tools you have now on social media, forcing a partner to share passwords. Interesting.
I didn't realize that was considered like cyber violence.
Yeah.
But I mean, that makes
but
sense.
That makes sense. You're like, I need to know everything. So you're not hiding. And then sharing someone's sexual images without their consent. All these things and more are cyber violence. So what are the scary statistics that we're dealing with currently around this? Let's go on a journey together, shall we? There's a lot here.
Take me on a journey.
We're not going to get too deep because we have an amazing story by one of our guests today to really share her real life experience in this. But I'm going to share some really hard-hitting stats here. So
scaries. Yes.
So the scaries around this. So 44% of women and gender diverse people ages 16 to 30 are personally targeted by online hate speech. 44%, almost half.
Almost
of women,
half of women,
of all women and gender diverse people are targeted with online hate speech. This increased 72% since 2019. Online
72%?
Yes. Like what is happening? I guess 2019, right before the pandemic. Yeah. Everyone just sitting on their computers online. What else is there to do? Everything's closed down. And so, 72% increase in online hate since 2019.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And specifically against women, to LGBTQIA plus, ethnic groups, religious groups, like that is who we're targeting, just online hate in general. So the groups, again, like to break it down for you, like in terms of women, who is most targeted, 33% of young women, 15 to 24, 30% of Indigenous women, and 50% of bisexual women.
50%? That's 50, really specific for bisexual women.
Right. So imagine if you were young, Indigenous, and bisexual. What then? 90%? What is happening?
Stats are literally against you.
Right.
Great.
So this, digging even younger, and this, listen up parents, because this is pretty alarming. A survey done on Ontario students in grades 7 to 12, so like 13 to 18 year olds, found that girls who spent more time on social media were more likely to report that they had thoughts of suicide. And 61% of those girls who use social media for more than 5 hours a day reported moderate to serious psychological distress, while boys, only 33% of them reported feeling the same way. So 61, almost double feelings of girls. So 61% of girls who use social media for more than 5 hours a day, which actually isn't that hard.
No, I was just
thinking
about
it.
Like you wake up in the morning and like
scroll.
And, like you have a break,
lunch, supper at night, like probably most of the time at night. But it's not that hard to get there. They feel serious psychological distress.
So then I guess the question is, where is it happening most and how is this happening? So an international survey done by Plan International, which is a really fantastic organization, and I recommend that you check them out and donate to them and do all those fantastic things. Yes. They did a survey in 2020 and discovered that attacks are most common on Facebook, followed by Instagram and WhatsApp. So I was just curious about the daily users on these platforms because we like numbers, obviously.
Yeah.
And what I found was pretty wild in terms of how many people are using these platforms. So all these numbers are from reports and statistics from 2023. So this year.
Okay.
So Facebook has just over 2 billion users logged in every single day. 2 billion.
Wow.
WhatsApp has 1 billion daily active users, and people are exchanging 140 billion messages on the platform every day. Every day. Snapchat comes in third place at 750 million daily users. And then Instagram with 500 million daily users. And finally, TikTok has about 50 million daily active users.
Wow.
So that obviously isn't all social media platforms. That's just kind of the heavy hitters, in my opinion anyways, and what we kind of found in online. But it shows the magnitude of the eyeballs and the ears and everyone that's kind of watching your content and looking to engage either positively or negatively. So going back to that 2020 Plan International Survey, of all girls and women surveyed, the most common type of online harm was abusive and insulting language, which was reported by 59% of respondents, followed by deliberate embarrassment, which was 41% of respondents, as well as body shaming and threats of sexual violence, about 39%.
Wow.
Yeah. When asked who was perpetrating, that's a hard word, who was perpetrating the violence, 40% said they experienced harassment from people at school or at work, so people that they know.
Yeah.
29% said a friend, so like arguably like a trusted confidant or
Right.
someone that you've shared things with. And then 16% were former partners, so probably where that intimate partner
That's what I was
violence.
going to say. It's usually someone they know that
Yeah.
does intimate partner violence. So this isn't far off, even
No.
if you're on behind a screen on
Totally.
social media.
Yeah, exactly. So meanwhile, 38% that they had said that they had been harassed by anonymous social media users. Anonymous.
Right.
The trolls, so
Yeah.
to speak.
Yeah.
So online harassment has led 28% of women to take protective measures like reducing time online and deleting accounts. And I was actually reading an interesting article while researching this episode, and it mentioned Brandy Morin, who is an Indigenous journalist. And we've actually had the chance to hear her speak at, I can't remember what the event was, but she was really fantastic. And so she was interviewed because she has received multiple death threats just for saying what she says online and that sort of thing. And when she contacted the police after her first death threat, so again, she's had multiple. The first one, they said they couldn't do anything until it escalated. And so then in this article, she was like, escalated to what?
Death?
Yeah.
Come on.
So she has a death threat. And
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like that's the escalation.
Yeah, exactly.
And the police said, no, we have to wait until it's escalated. And so she's like, till they show up at my house, till they like literally kill me. What is it? And then before she hung up with the officer told her, I'd advise you to keep your doors locked.
Oh, great advice. I didn't think of that already.
What kind of advice is that?
Makes you feel real safe.
Yeah. So anyways, women who have been the victims of cyber violence have also reported seeking social isolation. So they withdraw from public life, isolating themselves from friends and family. Obviously, if you are being especially if you don't know who's targeting you, but even if your friends are saying stuff or your schoolmates or whatever, like I would also imagine that I would
not going anywhere.
internalize and not doing anything.
Totally.
Online forms of violence against women and girls are also associated with psychological, social, and reproductive health impacts.
Wow.
And often with online physical and sexual violence for victims and survivors. So again, that's kind of where that intersectionality comes in, and it goes from online to in real life. Research reveals several consequences of online violence, including women's experiences of higher levels of anxiety, stress disorders, depression, trauma, panic attacks, loss of self-esteem, and a sense of powerlessness in their ability to respond to the abuse.
As if we don't have enough things to worry about and stress about, and then add this on.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, it's really great.
So on the topic of cyber violence, we have a special guest with us today, Morgan Mayer.
Hey.
Welcome, Morgan.
Hello.
So Morgan runs a hugely successful TikTok channel called the No BS Bride. So make sure you give her a follow or a check out. She's awesome.
Yes,
we highly
please do.
recommend. So her purpose is to share on this TikTok channel is to share the good, the bad, dare we say the scaries, all about weddings, wedding planning, things to expect, big old red flags, and just what to do about it. So while she's created this, she's gained over 150,000 followers, or maybe even more. Millions of views, tons of comments. But while she's built this, she's also been the target of some pretty wild online hate.
Yes.
So it's hard to get both without, one or the other. So something we've always admired about you, Morgan, is really how you faced all this hate with grace, humility, and just really a lot of humor. So we're really excited to have you.
It's my trauma.
Today. Yeah.
If you don't laugh, you cry.
So before we get in, we have some questions. We
Of
want
course.
to chat
Yes.
all about everything online hate, which
Mhm.
is not that exciting, but we have some more easing into it questions to start off with. So
Love it.
first off, what is the best advice you've ever received?
Like ever in terms of social media or just in general?
Just like your life.
In general, honestly, knowing yourself and will help you navigate the world you live in.
I honestly believe that about you too. You know, some people are like, my advice is to like be great and strong, and you're like, I don't believe that
Just
about
be
you.
you.
Yeah.
Because all of that kind of falls into place after you are confident in who you are, what you do, what you represent, etc. Like the rest just kind of it falls into place. It's just how it is, and you're more confident going forward in life and in any sort of decision, and especially like with online targeting too. It makes it seriously is without it.
Yeah,
I can only imagine.
It probably allows you to like brush it off, like let
Yes.
water off the duck's back,
Right.
as they say. And I'm sure we'll get into
100%.
that. But
Yeah.
cool.
Awesome. Second question. This is a would you rather.
Oh, okay.
So would you rather
Mhm.
never have any social media ever exist?
Yes.
Never was created.
Okay, sorry. Continue.
Or be the creator of the largest, most successful social media platform that ever.
I would say no socials.
Yeah.
Honestly, I love it and I love the tool and it connects so many people. I lied. It's a 50-50.
It's a hard one.
As long as like I would say no, because it's just honestly the days where I have no service and I'm not near my phone are glorious times. And it's I don't know. I just feel like my creativity just kind of goes rapid fire when I'm not constantly with a device. But I feel like having a large platform can do so much good that like it can do so much good. It can do so much bad. But again, just depending on who you are, I think I'm a solid 50-50 right down the center for very different reasons.
Yeah.
Fair.
One
Fair.
for my mental health.
Yeah.
One for possibly the help of others.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
it's about that balance too. I
Yeah.
think with like even just like consuming social media, it's about balance and
It
not
is.
letting it take over your
Exactly.
world.
Yeah.
Well, and I also feel like it's the content, right? Like how
Totally.
if you can control the content and
Yeah.
what's on there, it would be
And it's
a
so
different
easy to get
story.
lost in it.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
easy to get
Mhm.
lost.
awesome. Okay, last question
Mhm.
before we get into the deep questions.
Ooh.
This one's pretty deep though. What is
Okay.
your biggest scary? So like what are you most scared of / like what's a stat or a fact or something that you know that like scares you?
Scary, disappointing people. That scares me.
Ooh.
It's,
Ooh,
I know.
that's like
It's really
that's
weird.
deep.
Yeah.
I know. It's just like,
Oh,
that
it's just
hurts.
like,
but
oh,
even
God.
coming out of my mouth, I'm like, that's scary to me because I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a people pleaser, but I am,
Mhm.
and I'm working on it. But
Yep.
it's I have this thing where if I'm scared of something, no matter what it is, physical, etc., like spiders, for instance, if I'm scared, I will literally I choose to face it. I have to face it because then as soon as it becomes something that I'm familiar with, it's no longer scary.
Right.
And I find like scary things end up being scary things are just things we don't know.
Mhm.
It's the brain
Yes, the
protecting us.
unknown. Yeah.
It's the unknown. So like for me, disappointing people, I don't know what their disappointment, what that's going to trigger and what their reaction will be.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
that's
Interesting.
heavy.
It's the
Yeah.
unknown.
Yeah.
It's the unknown. That's
Yeah.
my scary.
And probably, as you said, like being a people pleaser, like it's I call myself a
Yeah.
recovering people pleaser.
I try.
But yeah, it's like that reaction, and yeah, totally
Mhm.
what it's going to do
Yeah.
back to you, and like
Yeah.
how you're going to take that.
I always say I'm a people pleaser until until I'm not.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
I will do whatever I possibly can to make sure others are comfortable, to make sure others feel loved and
Mhm.
included. And then I always say, I'm your greatest friend. I'm your biggest cheerleader. And I will be fiercely trustworthy and
Mhm.
fiercely loyal. However, you break that tie once, you're done.
We done.
We done.
We
You take
over.
advantage of it, anything. So,
Yeah.
like, that's just, I don't know. That's how I feel like I live my life a little bit.
Fair.
So thank you for answering some of those deep ones. You had some really great answers for us. Now we're going to get even deeper.
Oh, I love it.
This is the real good stuff now.
Okay, get in
So,
there, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Into the crevasse.
So we're going to dive deep. So first we want to know about a time that you voiced an opinion, which I know you're already laughing about, and received negative backlash and online hate for it.
Well, first off, younger Morgan would have been like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. That's scary.
Mhm.
Don't voice an opinion. That's terrifying. Now, don't care.
Mhm.
Easy and like probably because it's recent was I voiced an opinion about having no kids at weddings.
Mhm.
And that absolutely broke the internet for a hot minute.
Woof.
It was something, and like honestly, it was so unexpected. It was a video that I did not expect to have go as viral as it did.
Yeah.
And some of the comments were insanely inappropriate. Also just I don't know, I was like, I didn't think this was that controversial. But most of the people in the comments that were dishing out the hate were men. And I'm like, oh, there were a few women, but it was mostly men. And I'm like, oh, that's really, really ironic considering you guys probably don't care that there's kids at weddings because you don't feel publicly responsible for them. Like the public does not hold you responsible for the care of children.
Yeah.
So like, of course you don't care. You don't care because you don't actually have to deal.
So like, can you give us like a taste of
Yes.
what was said?
Well, seatbelts on, ladies. Know your emergency exits. I was called barren. Oh my goodness. I had all these written down and then of course I don't have my phone. I was called barren. A soulless killjoy. I really liked that one.
Oh, that's nice.
I know. I was like, stunning work.
Okay, actually, like very candidly, I saw one of them and it said, "You must be American," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "Were you?" I don't know what kind of dig you were going for.
I was like, "Wow, you must have never left your country." Like
it was such a weird comment.
I'm Canadian-y.
And then like your comment back, which was like, no, I'm not. Like,
okay.
And that's it.
That's the thing. Like, just commenting back at them is just so ridiculous. Like, I think I did like a story and I just like screenshotted all of these things.
I saw that.
Oh, I was called an asshole. It was like, I hope you can't have kids. I was like, and saying something like, I don't want kids. Doesn't mean I don't love kids. I don't want kids. But like, if I was saying struggling with fertility, like that would be so hurtful.
Absolutely.
And like, that just breaks my heart. I was like, you don't know who you're saying this to. You don't know what my background is like. You don't know what I'm struggling with. Or maybe I'm not having kids because I'm infertile. Like you don't know that. So, and then it was just like, oh, this poor guy, someone tell this guy, thanks for taking one for the team with this ugly thing. And I'm like, cool, bro. Oh, and someone, it was just like, oh, just wait till it's your turn, princess. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm a princess. Like, stop it. It's just, honestly, it's all about flipping control.
Yeah.
And which just sounds really manipulative. Wow. But it helps.
But I feel like in that situation, you have to I feel like you have to take control of it because otherwise
it just swirls out of control.
Oh, yeah, 100%. It does. And it's, I mean, there's so many other things, but those were, it was my personal favorite. My personal favorite is just like, for someone who doesn't want kids, why are your arms so fat? It looks like you've had 3 already. And I'm like, and then it was #try salad.
Wow.
I'm not gonna lie, that comment at first, because like I am self-conscious about my arms. Like I've never had dainty little feminine arms ever. So like at first I'm like, oh my God, all the things I see in the mirror are true.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, wait, this person doesn't know me. And honestly, even if those are also my fears, it still doesn't make it true.
No, of course.
It's disarming it within yourself and externally.
Disarming.
You have to disarm.
Yeah.
So let's talk about like how this affected you personally, mentally, like physically, if any, like how did it affect you?
I honestly don't. I'm very fortunate that, again, because I try to walk as authentically as possible and I try to lead with that example, I know myself enough to know that I am not those things.
Right.
And that's honestly self-love and self-worth is the first step to self-acceptance and like dealing with those kinds of things. Because you can be like, nope, lies. Like that's just, it's not true. And you know it's not true. Again, even with this guy commenting on how big my arms are. And I'm like, you know what? He might be right. But like, he doesn't have to weaponize it against me.
No.
Right? Yeah. Like it's all about, and it's having a nice community. And I feel like I've had more people be like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah. And I like to compare it to, I used to serve and I worked in a bar and I would break up bar fights. Because I worked in a bar where we didn't have security, and so you have this little 5'3" little like stop it, like boys, stop it, and I'd have to get in the middle, and occasionally I would get hit in the face, and I get hit in the head, and Jesus. Oh yeah, that's just, and I did it to myself.
You were like, I'll get in there, it's fine.
Oh, it's really something. But I would get hit in the head and not know I got hit in the head, and people, I'd be like cleaning up after and like dealing with my customers after, and they'd be like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. And then after the third person, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Everyone's asking me that. And they're like, you got hit in the head. I was like, I did. Like, I kind of got like, it's like I weirdly black out. I know what happened and I'm aware, but it's something that it's like I subconsciously just choose to like, leave.
I've heard this, and I don't know who said it, but it's like when someone comments, especially like in terms of like cyberbullying or things that when you're trying to like disarm things online, the things that we take most personally are things that we've like maybe thought about ourselves. So someone was like, oh my god, Talitha, I hate your blue hair, and I'm like, I don't have blue hair, so
but thank you.
That doesn't bug me. And so like you have to think of it kind of in that way where it's like, I am not this person that you think I am, or like this is actually not how I show up in the world, and whether you confused my statement or, and I mean, and that's also like another conversation about like intent versus impact.
Exactly.
But, so like I guess trying to think of it in that way, that like psychologically reprogram your brain.
You have to. It's a part of the game. Social media is a game.
It is.
One day you're a victim, the next day you're a villain. That's just how it goes.
Ooh. That might be going in the intro. So then the next question going into that is, how did you initially, and you kind of talked about this, we said when you were a teenager, but how did you initially cope with or respond to online hate? And then how has that approach changed? I know we've talked about a little bit about like the psychological changes, but what was your initial approach, especially as you, I mean, I don't know if you just like became viral overnight, but that's how I feel like it went. Like all of a sudden I was like,
it was kind of.
She was like getting interviewed on the news for being TikTok famous
for like all the followers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh no. Oh, the child free thing.
Yeah.
No. Okay. That was like, I think my most viral video had like, I mean, even in comparison to viral videos, it's not that big. It has like 5 million views.
Oh wow!
Which is, and it was very funny. It was the cooter cooler, and it was just like how to like keep your girl ventilated during your wedding, your wedding dress. Like that was my first like real viral one, and then it was literally me just like doing sound bites ridiculously in a wedding dress to like Celine Dion.
Yeah,
like, that's just
nice.
That's, I don't know. It started as very lighthearted and anytime I'd voice an opinion, for the most part, it was good. But like, I'd say the most controversial was like having child-free weddings and then being like, "You're a witch," and I'm like, "Yes,
yes, I am."
Like, cool, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
so then, when you initially became viral, I will say, but like, I'm assuming just because it's the internet and people were probably negative on there. Like, how did you initially cope with that, or has it changed? Like, has it changed? Have you always coped with it the same way?
I think the first time, and it wasn't even like someone said, "Oh, you look like this person," and I was like, "Who is this person?" And I looked them up, and I was like, "That's what I look like." Oh, and I was just like, "Okay, Morgan, one, don't do that to another person. Don't be like, I'm so sad I look like that." Like, I was just like, one, that's a really shitty way to look at it. And then secondly, I talked to my sister. I was like, am I crazy? And then she honestly, she is my voice of reason for so many things. So like initially I went to her and she went, "Morgan, you're not those things though." you're not those things. It's okay. You're not those things. And you know this. And it's like, yes, it was just a matter of someone being like, you're not doing this. And me going, oh yeah, right. I'm not. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Like I call those people authenticity allies.
Yeah,
totally.
I like
And
that.
they are, they're just there to help you. They know you almost as much as you know yourself.
Totally.
And they're like, you sure that's something that reflects
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
and what you want? Yeah.
Nice.
This is just a side story, but one time I was just bored in the morning, and so
I thought you were gonna say, and one time I was just born.
I was just bored, and that's the side
And
story.
that's it.
No, but I Googled myself,
Oh my God,
and
yeah.
I don't recommend doing that, because then I read comments about a video that we had posted about having an opinion. Weird.
Oh,
And
shocker.
and all of these comments, I would presume primarily by men, just based on like the names that were
Yeah.
provided, and same thing. And so then I like got like, it was like, she's not educated, and like she doesn't know any of these things. And so I got like so internally like in on myself,
yeah.
and then messaged one of my authenticity allies, and she was like, no.
Like, what the fuck are you talking
Yeah,
about?
she's like, do you believe any of those things? Also, would that have changed how you acted? Would that have changed any of these things? And I was like, no. And she's like,
Done.
so there you go. And I was like, oh, wow, I needed that.
No, like it's just honestly, and it's like you don't need outside validation.
No.
But when it's coming from a trusting source, it's good. I think
Yeah.
that's a really nice tool to have.
Never
totally.
hurts to have those reminders.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
You got to look outside yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly. No
Love
one's
it.
perfect.
So, what do you think, or why do you think social media is this scary place these days where people feel okay to bully and troll and just be the worst versions of themselves?
Because people often like to attack people who are projecting their own insecurities, and they like to. It's just like the thing. Oh, you're scared of being barren? Well, okay, I guess I'm barren, and I'll be barren for you. That's fine. But yeah, I think it's people just projecting their own stuff that you have to, unfortunately, deal with. It's just kind of part of social media, but they feel confident because they're not there face to face. It's easier for me to say something negative when that person isn't there to call me on my bullshit.
Yeah.
It's easier. Of
Yeah.
course. I feel like that's kind of everything. It's easier to say something behind someone's back. Don't do it. That's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's easier to do that because they're not there. However, the older I get, the more I'm like, okay, you know what? If I have an issue with this person, I have absolutely no issues telling them to their face. Because it's never with hate. It's always with love.
Yeah.
Like, this bugged me. This hurt my feelings. I don't think this is, are you sure this is something that reflects you? Are you sure this is something that you want? Like, and this is why. And if you want to have a conversation about it, please do. I want to talk about it because I want to grow and learn and understand. And it's like, are you doing this purely out of evil or because you are hurt and you need love?
Right.
Like, there are so many ways to look at it. So anytime someone online says anything that's negative, I'm like, they're just projecting their own self-loathing. Unfortunately, it's like they don't need more hate coming at them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they need more love. In my personal opinion.
I heard a quote. I don't
Whether
know
they're
who said
willing
it.
to take it or not is the next issue.
Yeah.
And it totally aligns with what you're saying about, I think it says, the way people talk about or talk to other people is the way that they talk about or talk to
100%.
themselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Ooh,
So like,
yeah.
if they're
all projected.
fully, talking mean, and that's probably how they're talking about themselves and
Absolutely.
thinking about themselves. So switch that narrative on yourself and you'll likely feel better about other people as well.
Absolutely.
Just putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we've talked about a little bit about why we think that social media is the place where people feel bullied. And what ways do you think your experience might be similar or different from others who have faced online hate?
It's different because I know I come from a privileged background. Like, there are so many other things. Like, I am a white woman, came from a upper middle class family. I was fortunate enough that I could go and do extracurriculars, and I had supportive friend groups. I am very privileged in that way. I know this. So when it comes to other ethnicities or different classes and how you were raised, all of these things they're just more tools for people. Unfortunately, I have less tools and weapons for people to take out of my toolbox and huck at me.
Yeah.
Just based off of how our society has been. And like, that's just how it is. So like, I am still very privileged in the amount of hate that I've gotten is nowhere near what others have.
Yeah. that's a really good self-reflection. And we like those like intersectionalities that we had just previously talked about
our last episode.
And about like all those different intersectionalities that come about, and how different groups of women obviously face different and more intense pieces of intimate partner violence. And so valid that you're like, I'm still aware that like people saying I have, you know, big arms is like,
that's
not a death threat.
No, it's not. It's not. And like it's being self-aware enough that's like that there are bigger issues, and putting energy towards this small thing is just not worth my time, because I love myself enough that my time's way more valuable than that.
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
Very smart.
Yeah.
So what, like, when this happens to you, and I'm sure it's happened more than once, what support or resources do you go to? And I know you talked about like allyship, would you say? Authenticity allies. Yeah. So that's one piece. Is there any other like places that you go or people that you seek out to support you through this?
My partner is incredibly supportive. He laughs right along with me. And there was this one time I put on this high energy video, and someone commented and they're like, how did it go? It was just like, wow, your husband, I feel bad for him because you're exhausting. And I was like, thank you. A little ASMR whisper.
Yeah, no.
And I had a video. I was just like, hey babe, did you know I'm exhausting? He's just like, yep. It's just disarming the situation. Like, he knows what he got himself into. So honestly, the tools, I find the best tools are the people around you and your own self-love and worth. That is the best tool.
So do you have advice to like improve self-worth? I know that's not really, or like self-love. It's not really our episode, but I just feel like you definitely practice it in a really positive way. So
I find like I'm an Aries. I'm a hot-headed little bee, but I find I can always check myself in. If something angers me, it sounds like I'm like, I go to therapy, which is great. Go to therapy.
I was like, everyone should.
I just feel like I feel like I'm just spouting what I've heard in therapy. It's just, you know, you have to, when you feel something that triggers you, it's deep diving into why and figuring out why it triggers you. And why does this make you sad? Why does this make you angry? Why does this do this? And it's taking it, removing yourself from the situation and kind of analyzing it from different viewpoints. Like, who is speaking? Okay, why might they feel like this is a bad thing?
Right.
However, it's also looking at it and going, okay, are they correct? Is this true? Am I being an asshole?
Right.
I have no problems people telling me if I'm being an asshole. I want them to tell me if I'm being an asshole. I really do, because I will not react. I'll go, okay, why? Okay, cool. Okay, I see where you're coming from. That's not how it was intended. This is how oftentimes it's just a miscommunication. So for me, removing myself kind of mentally and disassociating and like looking at it from all angles and going, okay, is this true? Or is this false? Or maybe it's in between. Maybe it's like, oh, you know what? I thought it was this. And you know what? You might be right. It might be this. And I'm fully self-aware enough. And I don't have enough ego that I can put my ego aside and go, yeah, I'm wrong. 100%. No problem. So for me, it's removing myself from the situation, analyzing all viewpoints, and moving forward with the most love.
For yourself and others.
And others. Yeah. For sure.
So if you could then, what changes would you like to see in online platforms or policies to better protect individuals from online hate and online intimidation and online bullying and all those?
It's a very good question, because honestly, I don't know. I really don't. I feel like there's no right answer to that question. There's so many things you can do, but again, it's only going to weed it so much. I feel like they've tried. I mean, there's certain things that I've reported and they're like, it's not bullying. I'm like, you sure about that? So I honestly don't know. And I don't know enough about the background of what they could do. If I knew more of the background and like the tech and all of that behind it, I'd be like, oh, we could do this and this and this, and this would just be amazing. And like they do like, here, this word is like triggered, so you can't say certain words on social media, which is great. It's like, we all know what you're talking about. So that's amazing. And I feel like they've come a long way, but there's still such a long way to go. I just don't know what that path is, because that's not where my knowledge base is.
No, totally.
However, if I understood the back end of it, I'm sure I'd have about 1,000 answers.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's about people who participate in social media. It's just base every action you do off of love.
That's great.
Love for others and yourself.
Yeah. Don't hurt anyone.
No.
Yeah. Researching this episode, we saw that they're like the laws just like haven't caught up yet to, because social media and the internet, everything, or the Internet of Things, is changing so quickly, and that like these laws that are put in place,
because the paperwork is so much slower than the digital world. So, and legislature and like how our government works it's not fast. It's not fast at all.
No.
It needs to be streamlined. But like that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But like I feel like our government is on analog and we're on digital.
Yeah.
Like
absolutely.
that's just how it is. And there's one's moving so much faster than the other. By the time one catches up, the other one's 10 years ahead. Easy.
Well, it's tough because social media is such a like freedom of speech. Like you can go on there and say whatever you want, for the good, for the bad, the ugly. So how do you monitor that without taking away
freedom of speech, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Unless it's like you can only talk if it's positive, and there's like an AI tool that like scans it, and if it's not positive, deletes it. Like,
exactly.
I mean, we're almost there. Let's be honest.
I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah, but who knows?
Yeah. So then, closing out a little bit, what message or insight would you like to share with our audience based on your journey through, I mean, this challenging experience, but also just like putting yourself and being vulnerable on the internet. And I also think it's not fair when people say, oh, you put yourself out there, like, so you should expect the negative comments. And it's like
I go to a party. It doesn't mean I want someone to be like, hey, a fat asshole.
Yeah.
Right.
No, like,
you're a dick. Like, I'm not, no, it's not, that's no, that's just not what we want.
Yeah. So with that, then what final message or insight would you share based on these experiences, or like just, I guess, anything you'd like to say?
Accepting the fact that you will never win social media. You will never win social media. One day you are a victim and the next day you are a villain. I have been told I'm a fat, barren asshole, and I'm like, cool, bro, that sounds awesome. And then I've been told I'm a cyberbully at the same time, like within hours of each other, and I'm like, okay, cool. And like that's just, cyberbullying is not something that I will ever get on board with, ever. And I've been accused of it, which breaks my heart. And I'm like, well, I voice an opinion, or I say something that for whatever reason someone reflects on or like takes as a personal attack. It's like, whoa. I'm really sorry you feel that way. You maybe need to go internally on that, because that's never, ever, ever, that is mean girl behavior I do not subscribe to and never will. And I'm sorry if anyone takes any opinion I have or any skit I do as something that's from their personal life.
Right.
Because life? What? Wow. I suddenly became Australian. Like someone that like, and it's never intended that way. I always use blanket situations. There's never any specifics, because like there's never been a wedding I've gone to that there hasn't been drama of some sort. Giving specifics, that's gonna attack somebody. Making it a blanket statement, absolutely. It's literally the most common thing. It's being like, runners are mostly pretty comfortable to wear. Opinion. Then you'll have someone being like,
give me blisters every day.
Exactly. Like there's always something. And if unfortunately people will take certain things as, they will take it and feel it as a personal attack. Again, that's just self-reflection and self-love. So when someone's like, you're a cyberbully, I was like, I'm not. I will never, ever, 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 ever. And then the next day, I'm terrible because of this, or, and then the next day it's like, oh my God, these are so funny and you're so great and blah, blah, blah. Like it's a wild roller coaster of everything. And unfortunately, like, again, there's no winning. Yeah. You can't win. You can't win the internet.
So don't try.
Can't win social media. Don't try. Don't try. And it's just, accepting and loving who you are and moving forward. And those that know you will know that about you. And honestly, the rest doesn't matter.
And I think too, like what you do is really the intent. Yeah. The intent is positive. The intent is educational. The intent is to make people laugh.
It's laughing at some drama. It's like, shit happens, move on. Like it's not a big deal. Drama's going to happen. Yeah. And, things are going to go wrong, and that's okay. And honestly, the things that went wrong at my wedding are some of my favorite parts, because dwelling in any of it is just, that's a cesspool I just could not get behind. Yeah.
Stay out of it.
Yeah. Stay out of it, baby.
Yeah.
Love yourself and go that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks,
honestly, we learned
Morgan.
so much from you, and I'm sure the listeners all did too. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was such a pleasure.
Of
Such a
course.
treat.
Yeah. And go follow Morgan at No BS Bride on TikTok.
Yes.
And follow and like and share the love and share
Thank you.
and comment nice things on her posts, please.
Actually, comment mean ones.
She will make you laugh probably in the comments on commenting on that. So there you go. Thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
So after we heard from Morgan, we know some things that we can do and also the kind of the real reality of how that's facing people.
Yeah.
And so this horrible and growing type of violence seems to be everywhere that we look online. I mean, we've obviously seen it with Morgan. We've experienced it. So what's being done about this? Survivors of cyber violence can pursue different legal options, actually, through criminal law and civil litigation processes, depending on where a survivor lives in Canada. So this is only Canada specific. They may be able to file a complaint with the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada, which enforces federal privacy laws. However, the real change will come when the platforms that support and house this hate, like social media platforms, start to act and make changes in their policy. According to Imran Ahmed, founder and CEO of the Center for Countering Digital Hate, there have been repeated failures by social media companies to take action on harmful content or the people who spread it. So, in fact, this company's research has demonstrated how the social media company's algorithms, with a systematic bias towards hate and misinformation, have had a damaging impact. So the algorithms are against us. They set us up for failure.
Exactly. It's spicy, so it's going to get the reactions. It's going to get the time.
Yeah,
right?
they get the
People are
airtime.
going to get the eyeballs.
So this failure to act is the reality of the status quo of self-regulation that social media platforms follow. And self-regulation in this instance is actually no regulation. The status quo cannot stand. Yeah.
No.
They're allowed to, self-regulate and self-monitor themselves, but like opposed to, say a healthcare provider who self-regulates, there are like laws and acts and like things that they have to follow. In this case, they're just like a free-for-all. Like,
and let's be honest, I don't think internet trolls are self-regulated at all.
No.
Like they aren't trolling if they're regulated. So
no.
Come on.
So as a result, in 2022, the Center for Countering Digital Hate created a values and research-driven framework to support global efforts to regulate social media and search engine companies called the STAR framework. So this STAR framework aims to establish key global standards. So global standards, not just Canadian or American, for social media reform to ensure effectiveness, connectedness, and consistency for a sector which impacts people globally and draws on the most important elements for achieving this. So the STAR framework stands for safety by design, transparency, accountability, and responsibility.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think if you want to learn more about those, definitely check out their website, the Center for Countering Digital Hate.com, probably, but Google it and you'll find more
we'll
details.
Put it in the show
those.
notes.
So in addition to this STAR framework, the Center for Countering Digital Hate also came out with a guide called Don't Feed the Trolls, How to Deal with Online Hate. And they came out with some really, it seems pretty common sense, but honestly, this is some really hard-hitting proven facts of like how to deal with online hate when it happens to you or to your family or your friends. So we're going to share a little bit. So what they suggested to do immediately when you experience online hate is to first resist the urge to respond. I know it can be really probably super hard when it's like specifically a personal attack on you or your family or whoever, but resist the urge to respond. You might think that winning or losing, like Morgan said, relies on whether you win the argument or the debate or whatever it is that they're getting mad at you about. But you have to resist because for the troll, it's about the prominence. It's about how many people see what they write. So the more you discuss it back and forth, the more prominent the conversation becomes. So the more
those comments
eyeballs are coming on them and what they're saying. They don't care if it's positive, negative. They just want the prominence of their propaganda. So don't respond if possible. Block them immediately also, especially if it's like full-on harassment and getting violent. Block. This will ensure they can't contact you ever again. It removes the mentions of them from your notifications, and it also stops like more people like them from getting and piling on.
Yeah, like getting their troll friends to come and troll.
It's Troll Storm, it's called. And then if you receive several negative comments, sometimes you could say something and then put your phone down, and the next time you look at it, it's like, there's 100 comments. Just switch off your app notifications from your phone or your other devices to protect you from that like troll storm, because just step away.
Do not
Step away
disturb is a
from the phone.
very, very strong tool that you
Yes.
can use on your phone. Yeah.
Yes. They also suggest not posting something saying that you're being targeted, because this
Oh.
actually simply invites further abuse. Again, you're showing the prominence, you're highlighting what the conversation is or
Uh-huh.
whatever their propaganda is that they're trying to get, the point that they're trying to get across. Avoid doing that, because again, it
Interesting.
makes it even more popular. And it could even fuel more. They're just
Yeah.
likely to come back and say more things, right?
Right.
And then the last piece of advice they say to do immediately is get space from social media, because you just need to show yourself compassion, put away the phone, go
Yeah.
for a walk, do whatever you need to do to self-care.
Yeah. That self-love that Morgan talked about. Yeah.
For sure. And then if things are getting real heated and you're starting to actually feel unsafe, these are some other things that they suggest. So record. Use those screenshot buttons.
Mhm.
Those are important. If you ever need to take any legal action, screenshot it, take note of the date, the time, who
Mhm.
sent it, do it, save it, make sure you keep a record of it.
Get those receipts, as
Yeah.
they say.
Yep. Report. So there are ways on different social media channels that you can report
Mhm.
negative harassment, different comments like that. I don't know exactly what they do. Sometimes they kick you off. You're in Facebook jail or whatever.
Oh,
it
yeah.
is. But definitely report it, because the more reports that an individual gets, the more likely to get banned from
Yeah.
using that channel. And then, of course, it allows you to say, police, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. Now it's time for you to step in.
Yeah.
And then recruit help. So there's organizations with experience and expertise in online hate, specifically the Center for Countering Hate Online, but there's other ones if you Google it, and they can give you more tips and tricks too to deal.
Yeah. Those are all great tips.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you can be proactive. Also just reach out to people too, and get offline and talk to people. And
I love what Morgan said around authentic allies. Like, remember, this isn't about you. It's often just about them and their internal
Mhm.
hate, and they're just projecting on you. So remember, it's not about you.
check in with those
Yeah.
authenticity allies.
Yes.
So with that, thank you so much for joining us today as we confronted these terrifying but real life statistics impacting women and girls. In our next episode, we're going to be talking about the issues surrounding gaslighting that women face in healthcare. So it's going to be juicy.
Mhm.
Stay tuned for more ways to make a positive impact. Together, we can make the world a little less scary for women and girls.
And be sure to follow us on Instagram at RaceHerCo and at scaries.podcast, and on TikTok at RaceHerCo. Remember that change starts with awareness and action. So thank you for being part of the Scaries community and making this world a little less scary for it to exist as a woman.
Bye.
Bye.